Hello, welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast, brought to you by the Scottish Rugby Blog. This is our final episode of the 2025-2026 season, and it's our, depending on who you ask, hotly anticipated season review this year. So I am Jonny McGinty. Nice to have you along with us. I am joined today by a man who is a dungeon master on a Tuesday, a choir master on a Wednesday, and our prop master every day of the week, Allan McDonald. How are you, Allan?
I'm good, thank you. I'm a player, not a dungeon master. Except that's not on Tuesdays. That's all I'll say.
So what you're saying is you got that completely wrong. I'm also joined by a woman who's a baker and a candlestick maker and lives not too far away from me, so might be a butcher by the end of this episode as well. Leslie Ramage, how are you, Leslie?
All the better for seeing your lovely face, Jonny.
You see, that's the positivity we're looking for, McDonald. And then, rounding us out this evening, a rare treat. My favourite front row we've ever had on the show. Probably my favourite fifer we've ever had on the show. Almost certainly my favourite person we've ever had on the show. The US ambassador to rugby calls him the Craig Man. Mr. Craig Manson, nice to see you. How are you?
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much. Well, a lovely intro. It's like I'm unsure. Can the real Jonny stand up, please?
Lulling you into a false sense of security.
That's obvious. I'm just waiting on it. It's okay. We're going to get to a part of the pod about Edinburgh, and we'll soon see the real Jonny McGinty. Hello all.
I'm just trying to make you relax before we get there.
Yeah.
So, because we are in season review mode, it is a slightly different format to usual. We're going to look at the two national teams on the public podcast, so the Scotland men's and women's national teams. We'll look at the two URC teams behind the paywall for the Patreons. If it's something that you think you'd be interested in, you can head over to patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast and you can join us there for, I think inflation's got to us, Craig. I don't think it is the cost of a coffee anymore. That used to be our go-to.
Yeah.
Now it's the cost of about 3/5 of a coffee plus the VAT. Always important. And you will get access to ad-free episodes to the second half of tonight's podcast. Here, what Craig and Leslie have to think about Edinburgh's season, and access to our super secret private Facebook group. So for the review of the four teams this week, or this season, tonight we will review that four teams, whatever. We're going to go for four fairly basic questions. Has each team gone forwards, backwards, or stayed the same this season? What's the biggest single thing that they could do to improve this season? And then I'm going to ask each of you for your moment of the year and player of the year for all four teams. And then we'll have a bit of a conflab about those and we'll try and reach an agreement on what the moment of the year and the player of the year were for all four of our senior teams this year. So we will start chronologically almost with Scotland's senior men this year. Starting from the Autumn Internationals and forwards. So for a brief reminder, Scotland started off the autumn with an 85-0 outside of test window victory against some college players from the USA. Lost 25-17 at Murrayfield to the All Blacks. Unfortunately, a review of this season includes the fact that we're going to talk about Scotland 24, Argentina 33 at Murrayfield in the autumn, and then finally another clean sheet to finish off the autumn, 56-0 against Tonga. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about this year's Six Nations for anyone who has mercifully forgotten. Started off losing 18-15 to Italy. The sky was falling. Beat England 31-20 at Murrayfield. Squeezed past Wales 26-23 in Cardiff. Beat France 50-40 back again at Murrayfield. And then the same old Scottish story. Lost 43-21 to Ireland on Super Saturday this year. Allan, I will start with you. Scotland's senior men, forwards, backwards, are in the same place as they were last season.
I think they're treading water, aren't they? I just think, the high points were high and the low points were low. I think we've got the one-off match performance, but we know we can do that. It's the consistency, and that's still lacking, unfortunately. And I think we didn't, there was a way we could have ground out a win against Italy, by having a line out that functioned about 50%, for example. But yeah, we didn't. So I think we're same old Scotland, same old story. It felt very much like deja vu for me.
Yeah. Craig, I think maybe a little bit more generously than Allan was going to be, I would say we maybe got a 3-off performance from another heartbreakingly close to beating the All Blacks autumn. We had England and France, where we put on some fantastic attacking rugby at Murrayfield. But I would tend to agree with Allan. I don't think we've gone very far forward. Is that sort of your take, or are you going to be a bit more generous or even harsher?
I'm going to be generous, actually. I think we have moved forward, and I think where I think we've moved forward is we're actually able to, first of all, our second half performances, bar Argentina, our second hand we can see out games a little bit better. We came back. We all remember sitting in a bar at Haymarket watching the Wales game, thinking this is going to be a disaster. And they came back when they needed to. So I think for me the resistance has come back a little. Where we can deal with a bit of pressure at this moment, which we always used to struggle with. But again, as Allan said and you said, is what we can't be too smug and smart about it, because we've got some horrible performances like Argentina and obviously against Ireland. We just didn't show up. It's almost like we ran out of gas against Ireland. Or Ireland fooled everybody into thinking that they were done, and then decide that the only people they really, really want to beat during the Six Nations is Scottish. So it's just, I'd like to think we've gone forward, or we've made a move forward, but we also have to be aware of the age profile of the Scotland team at this moment in time, and where we're going to be next year when it comes to World Cup and stuff like that with the players. I know he's brought a few younger people in, but I think he's leaning heavily on the established players as usual, and it's going to be an interesting one over the next year.
Yeah, Leslie, I think it's hard to disagree with Craig. I think Scotland have become more of an 80-minute team recently, which we kind of have to count as moving a bit forward. But there is still, as we saw in the Argentina game, the ability to go fully Scotland when it matters. Do you think the ability to play for a little bit longer in most of our games merits saying we're going forwards, or are you more in the Allan camp?
I am Team Allan with this. It felt very much same old. Scotland can put in 3 performances, good performances a season, and that's it. Nothing. They played for a few minutes longer per game. Well, I'm not like, so what? They should be playing. They should be playing for the full 80. Yeah, nothing. None of the performances are anything we haven't seen before. For me, it was very much same old. And I don't know if he's brought enough younger players through either. So yeah, I'm Allan. Quite negative, but oh well.
I think for me, Scotland have shown in the last 5 or 6 years that they can beat England pretty much at will. So putting on a really good attacking display against England at Murrayfield, I don't think counts as a step forward. I think Scotland have beaten France and or been competitive with France a lot more often in recent history than quite a few other teams have. So I don't think that really counts as a step forward. I think the thing that would make me lean towards they're staying the same is also probably my single thing that Scotland could do to improve. Scotland have got to beat Ireland at some point. We're now 17 times without beating them. And so I don't think we say we're moving forward, until we figure out a way to do it, because Ireland aren't doing anything different. Scotland just can't work out a way to get around it. So for me, those two kind of go together. I don't think we've made a massive amount of progress, and I think the thing that we have to do to really mark progress is we have to beat Ireland. Allan, what is the single biggest thing that Scotland men can do for you to improve?
I mean, you just pulled the rug out from under me. I think the thing about Ireland, they made. I mean, we scored points against them. We look better than against them than we have done in a lot of times. I think the final scoreline flattered Ireland in that game. But they made us work so hard for every single one of our points that the team were just out on their feet and had nothing later on. And maybe that's why the scoreline didn't actually flatter Ireland. But yeah, it's beating Ireland, isn't it? And actually contending, properly contending.
The frustrating thing about that is that there were other points both in the autumn and in the Six Nations where Scotland were making teams work incredibly hard to score points against them, and to then flip that so quickly in the Ireland game, I think just gets really frustrating. Craig, what about you? Is there a single big improvement for Scotland men?
For me, they're needing to harden up. I'm finding that I think the key to beating Ireland is to be what we tend to find is I just feel that Scotland are too nice at times, and when I say too nice, I'm not expecting they don't have to use it or anything like that, but I think Ireland have a recipe, and one of their main ingredients is messing up at the ruck, slowing down ball, and what they did to Scotland and maybe is the key to Scotland losing continually to them is that they are right on the legal line, over it and under it at times when it comes to the breakdown. And what that did was just slow up Scotland's ball. And Scotland's ball was absolutely, what won us the game against England, won us the game against France is the speed of ball and the speed of attack. And Ireland are able to just it's our kryptonite that they use, and their ability to just slow ball down and be absolute. I can't say the word, but absolute idiots at the breakdown. And I think what then happens is that Scotland come under pressure because they can't play. They then start to force things, and then all of a sudden, Ireland have turned the ball over and then are attacking us. And then what usually happens is we start giving stupid penalties away because we're scrabbling to try and sort the breakdown out. So I just think that, again, I've got written down, find a way to beat Ireland as well. But I think it's got more to do with becoming, or developing a few hard or nasty people within the team who will not enforcers, but will just they're willing to do the things that that others aren't. Dempsey does a little bit of it, but I don't think he's he's hard as in he'll go into contact a lot. Really, he's quite a good go forward player, but pardon me. But what he doesn't do is he doesn't mess around in the contact area. And I think
we need a higher BQ, is what you're saying, Craig.
Yeah.
To use our local vernacular. Leslie, is there a single thing that you think would help Scotland men?
Changing coaching staff. Just not because I actually have anything against Gregor as a coach, but he's been in that role a very long time. It's like 9 years now. I think in international coaching, it's pretty difficult to keep the message fresh and have new ideas every year for 9 years to try and keep the team motivated, especially when it's a lot of the same players. It's pretty frustrating because we've seen Glasgow beat Leinster quite comfortably this season, and even Edinburgh managed to kind of push them a little bit, and they have not been good this season. It's very frustrating when those teams come together that they just can't get it to work, and there doesn't seem to be a plan B on the pitch. They play their own game, but when that doesn't work, they don't seem to have anything else to go to. And I think until we get a change in coaching staff and fresh information, fresh voices, different ways of looking at things, we might not see a huge amount of progress until that happens.
Yeah. I think, it's something we've been saying for a while. Let's put it that way. Let's remember the good times then before we move off of Scotland men. We'll do our moment of the year first for each of us, and then we'll try and reach a consensus. Allan, what was the moment of the year for Scotland men for you?
The first 60 minutes of the France game. That was just turning around, and I've got a season pass, and I sit in with lots of other people with season passes, and there was a huge amount of "Can you believe this? Can you believe this?" Genuine disbelief amongst all of us, and it was amazing. So 60 moments, the first 60 minutes of the France game.
Craig?
The Argentina game.
Well, I'm excited to hear this.
And what I mean is the Argentina game, and also a little bit of the Italy game. I think it took the shackles off Gregor Townsend, and it showed a lot of the people who are very much, we need to let we need to be behind all the boys, and the boys are doing great, and we need to not be too negative. It showed them actually, look, they are weak when it comes to when the pressure's on, they let us down, and that, there's obviously something wrong with the game plan in the second half of the or when we're in the lead or we're beating a team. There's something wrong with the game plan, because everyone seems to come back. Wales in 2024 down at the we were
yeah. I was having such a nice time, and then
and we weren't. Then we had a very, very, very good time afterwards. But what I'm trying to say is, it's kind of like, I just thought we'd found that. I think Finn Russell had said that, was it the France game or was it the England game? When he said that he'd spoken to Gregor at half time. He said, right, what we're going to do with it? And Greg said, no, keep the foot in the throat, keep going at them, keep going at them, keep going at them. And I think that's where Gregor Townsend, I think that's where he wants to be. But because of everything that's going around about Gregor Townsend, I think that all the pressure that he's had over the years, I think he's tried to hedge his bets at times, and he's tried to, let's be safe now. We're in the lead. Let's try and keep that lead, rather than bollocks to it. Let's get on with it. And I think it was a change. I think it was a tipping point for Scotland and Gregor Townsend. I think it's changed his mind a little bit, or he's decided, I'm going to get through to the World Cup, and then that's me done. I'm off to a cushy job with Red Bull. So, I'm going to just take the shackles off. So that I think that for me, the moment of the year was Argentina, because it shocked everyone. Everyone to their core, every Scottish rugby player, every Scottish rugby fan, every Scottish rugby person who's involved with SRU had to be shocked at what happened.
Yeah. Leslie?
I went for the England game, not because I think beating England is anything particularly special anymore, but the lead up to that game, there was a hell of a lot of pressure on the team because they'd just lost from Italy the week before. There was calls for Gregor to go because he was, part-time with Red Bull, and England were coming in on a really strong run of like 11 or 12 games unbeaten, and there was pressure there. And I think I said at the time on the podcast that I wasn't sure, if Scotland were going to win it, and they absolutely turned up and did it. And it just shows that they can do it when under pressure. And I would like to see more of that.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the same game as Allan did, and specifically Ben White's performance against France. I don't know if it's like a hangover from my punk sensibilities. I don't like superstars, and I quite like to see superstars get their totties. And watching Dupont throwing a tantrum because Ben White was absolutely outplaying him and making sure he knew all about it. That, like, the France game, Alan's right, the first hour of the France game was all round class. But watching Dupont get more and more and more frustrated as Ben White wound him up more and more and more was like a highlight within a highlight for me. So that's mine. Ben White winded up Dupont. Class. Just excellent. A+ Goblin behaviour. Does anyone want to stick their neck out, make a change, side with another moment? Do we have like a consensus? Which of our four do we think is the ultimate moment? I'll be honest, I'm kind of tempted to go with Manson. I like it as a theory.
You're on mute, Alan, sorry.
Sorry about that. It's usually the best way to enjoy me. But I would go with Craig's, but the France game was so exceptional. I don't think I've seen a purer 60 minutes of rugby at Murrayfield. So it's a good argument, but I just think I think the France game edges it, and I think the first 60 minutes encompasses Ben White's performance as well, Jonny. So I would argue for mine, despite you both having made excellent cases. Sorry?
I'm asking Leslie if she's prepared to jump ship for France.
I was at that game as well, and in my France shop, so you're welcome. Yeah, happy for that to be for that to be the
Let's
the moment.
go for it then.
That's fine.
France in general, we'll go with that. All right, super quickly before I get yet another chance to bask in my rightness. Allan, Scotland Men Player of the Year. Take yourself off mute this time. There you go.
Yes, I have done it. Sorry, it's just not that responsive. I think Kyle Steyn, I think he's just been wonderful. If you hadn't let me have the 60 moments as my one moment, my singular moment would have been Scotland being as up as they were and him, well, I was going to say bursting a gut, but bursting his leg to chase down and try and stop a try. The attitude that showed and the sort of leadership and the lack of leadership after it went off. And it's not just that, because then we were higgledy-piggledy with, back rows out in the wing and things like that. So it wasn't just him going off, but we lost an awful lot of leadership when he went off the field. Yeah. And I think he's one of these players that's just unselfish, team man, and makes other people do better. So Kyle Steyn.
Craig?
Totally and utterly against all of my sensibilities, but it's Kyle Steyn. Has to be Kyle Steyn. There's
Leslie.
Sorry. Oh, I'm not even getting a chance.
I wasn't sure if you could bring yourself to do it, Craig. If you really want to do it, you can do it. I'm just not going to force you. Leslie.
Yeah, full house. Kyle Steyn.
Just quickly
for all the reasons Allan said.
Can anyone remember? Has there been anyone talking about Kyle Steyn as being one of the best wingers in the world and that great of player for longer than just before the Six Nations? Because I'm sure someone has made a huge deal about how great Kyle Steyn is for a really long time, but I just can't put my finger on who it is. Who was that?
I think John and Ian mentioned it a bit, to be fair.
I'm sure Mark's mentioned it too. I think it's...
You can all blast it. So we're saying unanimously, I was right. Kyle Steyn's the best player in the world. Good, glad. Let's move on then.
Yes, move on.
To Scotland women. With the World Cup kind of messing with the schedule this year, we only really had a Six Nations for Scotland women. Started well. beat Wales 24-19. Didn't go so well after that. Lost 84-7 to England, 41-14 to Italy, 69-28 to France, and then finished with a 54-5 loss against Ireland in the Women's Six Nations. I think this is a trickier question to answer than it might first seem, because it seems like a very big backwards, Leslie, but there's also some fairly large caveats to go with that. So, Scotland women, backwards, forwards, or stayed in the same place?
From a scoreline point of view, very clearly backwards. But in terms of the team and the structure, probably forward a teeny tiny bit. As you say, it's a brand new coaching team, and it's not just the head coach, it is the support staff as well, the assistant coaches. There was, I think, pretty much every single one of our first team were injured at some point during the campaign. And, you know, Sione had probably 2 weeks with these girls, and you're expecting most of your first team to be available, and then they're very quickly not. And I think we saw in that first game, when most of them were still fit, that the performances can be there when everyone's fit. And unfortunately, he has been forced to blood players probably a lot sooner than he planned, but that's probably a good thing in the long run. It was really painful, but it's hopefully a means to an end.
Yeah.
So yes, as you
I think Leslie and I are probably kind of in agreement, Craig. The scorelines look like a very big backward step, but a lot of input from a new coaching team, and a brand new coaching team. And we spoke about it just before we all came on. In the last few weeks, we're moving a lot more of our centrally contracted players back to Scotland, so we'll have a little bit more control of them and a little bit more time together. So are we prepared to say that we leave the results in the Six Nations to one side and actually they are moving forwards?
Well, I'd actually included the World Cup into the season because I was obviously looking for positives too. I think for me it's a forward movement, and if you look at, for example, the World Cup, it was forwards in team bonding, team building. They were working for each other. They're building this team that were together. They've always been kind of a together team anyway, but it showed with the passion and the way they played Wales, etc. But let's just take it back 2 years. I'm sure it was 2 years when we scored a few tries. I'm trying to think what game it was, and Helen Nelson couldn't kick for toffee. And you now need to look at Helen Nelson, who's getting player of the match. She's getting, she's leading from the front. Her passing and her kicking from hand, her kicking at goal kicking has all stepped up massively. The team's individual skills, their ball skills, their passing, their hand catch, coordination, all of the work that they're doing is obviously moving forward, because their skills are building and building and building. They've brought some youth coming through the team, and yes, they had to reach for the youth maybe quicker than they wanted to because of injuries, but these players have stepped in, and yes, they've. You go up, they got absolutely whooped by England at Murrayfield, and everybody got on the bandwagon. This is terrible, it's awful, it's this, it's that, it's the other. New coaching team, young players going up against the world number ones who are head and shoulders world number ones, not just, they're a really good team and they've got, they have been funded, they're incredibly well. They're also part of probably the best women's league in the world. They came out of it. Okay, they weren't as good as they have played against England before, but they got the opportunity to play at Murrayfield, and they will remember what the mistakes were, and they'll remember what the positives were. So I think, as you've talked about, Sione has just started with them. You're going to go backwards before you go forwards, but I think it's a forward movement for Scotland.
Yeah, Alan, I think what a lot of people seem to conveniently perhaps forget when we're talking about games against the Red Roses is that, like Craig says, not only are they the world number one, not only are they head and shoulders above everybody else, the Red Roses, as they are at the moment, are frequently in the conversation for the best team in any franchise in any sport in history. Like, this current Red Roses are a historic team. So I think we have to sort of, and I know we've been saying this for ages, and it's about time that we get rid of it and we start being competitive. I think we have to leave aside the Red Roses, and I don't think Scotland are the only ones. So do you think that makes it a bit easier to say we are moving forward?
I hate to be, normally I'm the Pollyanna and try and look at the positives, so I'm the one being Debbie Downer on this one. I agree with you about the Red Roses. I think you have to take the Red Roses out of the equation. The problem is then the performances against Ireland and France. You take them out and you're left with the performance against Ireland and France. Look, undoubtedly, in terms of results, it's a bit of a step back. I do agree we lost a lot of players. Players got blooded. It felt a bit like, I think we'll be looking back in this Six Nations in the way that, remember, England had that dreadful tour and Clive Woodward was to be sacked and he was useless, and all the players should never play again. And Jonny Wilkinson that's where he made his debut. And it turns out that was the core of the 2003 winning side for England men. And I think there's an element whereby there's the nucleus of a team there that will be stronger after this defeat. And there are players blooded. So I think it is a step back. But I think it's the kind of step back you can take a bloody good run up and get a spring forward from. So I think I'm closer to Leslie with that. I do think they've gone back, but there are significant mitigations. It was always going to be a transition season. A lot of big players having retired and or no longer involved, and a new coaching setup, and then injuries. So I think the players that got blooded, the depth will be better for that.
You heard it here first. Scotland are going to win the World Cup.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. That was on the tip of my tongue. I was sitting there going, "Oh, Alan, here we go. There's
Scotland going to win the World Cup.
Win the World Cup." And also,
by the way, I said, gentlemen,
I take exception that the Toronto Blue Jays were not included in your one of the best teams in the world.
We'll discuss that later. I think we've probably touched on some of the things that could be our big improvement for the women's team, Leslie. But what do you think the single biggest one is?
Oh, their defence was, from their own good standards, was very poor across the Six Nations. And I'm guessing they're learning a new system, and it's going to take a bit of time, and that's fine. But from what we've seen from the Scotland women in the past, it was a noticeable drop off. But again, the caveat that it's a new system, it's going to take a bit of time. You've got new players as well. It's fine, but yeah, get that sorted out pretty quick would be the key for me.
Craig?
For me, it's a physicality needs to be built. They're building their hand, they're catching pass, they're building their skills, but their physicality, I think, is below par. It needs to be, you've got Evie Gallagher, who was a noticeable missing player who was injured, obviously. She's incredibly physical because she's playing in the PWR and she knows what's expected. And she's going up against the Red Roses regularly in her games that she plays in the PWR. So you can see the physicality there. And I think there's an awful lot of that is missing at this moment in time. And I'm very, very concerned with the new Nusafora way of you're not playing in the PWR anymore. If you want a central contract, you've got to come back and play in this Celtic Challenge. I'm concerned about the loss of or inability to build their physicality.
Allan?
I think defence and physicality would be the two things. I think the defensive system probably comes first. I think that's probably the thing to improve first, because it's the easiest to. Well, it should be the easiest to drill in. So I'd go defensive system, but I'm happy to be persuaded on the physicality. I'm impaling myself in the fence so much that I have splinters in my posterior, Jonny.
I think tied into both of those as well, and we kind of danced around it a little bit when we talked about the season. Depth is kind of shown to be lacking a little bit, and the depth is what it is. But as much as we could say, like some of those young players that came in, they got blooded on the biggest stage, they had a great opportunity, they had a great experience, they'll learn from what went wrong. It was noticeable that there were a lot of frontline players missing. And so whether that's we spend more time developing 16 to 30, whatever it is, or we look at a way to give ourselves more options to fill those 16 to 23 in particular, I think we do have to have a look, and we have to say like something needs to be done about our depth. Right.
Yeah.
Happier times for Scotland women. Craig, me and you had better have the same answer for this. What was the moment of the year for Scotland women, Leslie? Leslie, now you've done it. Unmute yourself.
I went for the Murrayfield, getting to run out in Murrayfield for the first time. I know the score was pretty bad, but 30,000 folk. There was the whole campaign around the making moves and the really cool T-shirt that they made. I thought it was really great in terms of the promotion of that game. There were not many. It was a real struggle to find something. So that was my, they got the Murrayfield experience and the being piped in and people standing waving and all that good stuff that the men get. So yeah, it's a tough
Craig?
one, but yeah.
Well, I've got one that I'll obviously I'm going to go with, and I will talk about it in a second. But I have to say that the World Cup v Wales, I think the passion and the tenacity and the team were phenomenal against Wales in the World Cup. But quite obviously, it's going to be Molly Poolman's try against.
There we go.
To
be clear, that is the correct answer.
Yeah, it's the sheer audacity. However, those who know Molly Poolman know that she's got that in her back pocket on a regular basis. So it's just I think that goes in hand with the development of the younger players coming through into Scotland. And Molly Poolman's try. Why not?
Yeah, Allan.
So I knew what you and Craig were going to pick, and I'm not saying that I disagree because I don't. But I'm going to go with Isha Sutcliffe's try, because if you two can go with a home player's try, I can go with a home player's try. She's going to be challenging for them, but I think she's potentially going to be absolutely fantastic. So that's who I'd go for.
That's absolutely fair. A couple of excellent contributions there, but I'm going to invoke hosting privileges. Scotland Women's Moment of the Year was Molly Poolman's try. Congratulations. A slightly trickier one, I think, maybe, Leslie. Scotland Women's Player of the Year.
It was tough, but I'm going to say Rachel Malcolm, because she was very much missed in terms of being a leader on the field when she was injured. It was very noticeable that things just weren't the same without her. Now, the upside of that is it gives Scotland a chance to maybe develop the next captain, perhaps. But yes, her absence was very much noticeable, and no one quite had the same impact she does in terms of rallying the troops together when she wasn't there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Craig?
I'll do my TNT bit. It's a choice out of Molly Poolman, Evie Gallagher, and Rachel Malcolm, but it's obviously going to be Rachel Malcolm because of not only what she brings as a player, but what she's almost. How can I put it? She's more Sia Khaleesi than she is. She's more of a talisman, or taliswoman, or talis person. As far as I'm concerned, she brings that team together. She has built that team. And when I say built that team, I mean she has forged the. You just need to talk. You just need to see all the information about Emma Wassell and her health issues and how she, Rachel Malcolm's the first person on the text with, and every player within that team has got a nice message from Rachel Malcolm at some point. They will do anything they can for that captain, and I think that has to be something to be celebrated. And we need her to continue that journey and continue to drag them along the World Cup, and then we go from there.
Yep, Allan.
Sorry, I'd clicked onto something and the commanding thing and block didn't work. And if this was countdown, I'd have to show you my pad to show you that I just hadn't said. Yeah, just see what Leslie said. But I think Rachel Malcolm again. I've copied Craig and Leslie's homework, and you can't prove it. And there's nothing you can do about it, teacher. Sorry.
Fair. I'm actually going to buck the trend a little bit. Craig spoke about her earlier. I think in such a key position, the transformation that she's undergone from, like Craig said a couple of years ago, you had your heart in your mouth, to how assured she is kicking the ball now, what a great distributor she's become. I think Helen Nelson is probably the pick for me. I think I'm maybe being a little bit more stringent than the rest of you because I completely get what you're saying about Rachel. She was very conspicuous by her absence the back end of the Six Nations. She would almost certainly, if she played the whole Six Nations, have been my choice. But I think Helen Nelson kind of really stepped up in her absence as a leader and has gone, much lesser players or much greater players, have wilted under the pressure that she was under 2 years ago to go to where she is now. So I think she's become such a main part of the team, having gone from being such a, you did worry about Helen Nelson's kicking for quite a long time, and it's become quite a solid part of the game. So yeah, for me, I think Helen Nelson, but I agree with what you're all saying. Rachel Malcolm, very conspicuous in her absence when she wasn't in. So yeah, if it's 3-1, Rachel Malcolm, as she almost always is, Scotland Women's Player of the Year. Okay, that finishes us up now then for the two senior national teams. It finishes us up for the public podcast. We're going to bounce over to Patreon, and for our subscribers, we'll go through the same routine for both Glasgow and Edinburgh. We'll loosen up the language a little bit for Craig and Leslie's benefit when we get to Edinburgh. If you think you would like a little bit more of that kind of content, you know where to go. Patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast. For now, though, for the public stream, it is goodbye from me and goodbye from Allan, Craig, and Leslie.
Bye.
Right, folks.
Okay. I've gone for Alan's very astute observation, and I've taken all the public ones off, so that's fine.
I love how
right. That makes sense.
I love how it's like goodbye everyone, and then it's like you've got the wait as everybody comes off mute, and I've just not bothered muting myself because I would be just sitting there too busy hitting buttons on my social.
Yeah, you're taking the same attitude to it as Mia Manson, I think. Well, that's an Allan problem. All right, let's carry straight on then for the hardcore band who not only follow Scottish Professional Club Rugby will also follow us for their sins. We'll go through the exact same process for our patrons with the 2 URC teams. I was going to do Glasgow first, but I just feel that leaves us on too much of a downer. So let's do Edinburgh first. Edinburgh finished 12th in the URC, won 7 games. They're in the Challenge Cup now, next season. Craig, we haven't started with you. I'm sorry. I should have started with you on someone that wasn't Edinburgh. Edinburgh, forwards, backwards, or stayed the same, Craig?
Of course it's backwards. I've never seen so much money being fucking thrown away by the SRU. They're sitting spending our ticket money on that waste of a space of team at this moment in time. I'm absolutely and utter. It's one of the reasons I'm falling out of love with rugby at this moment in time, because they've got a cheek to start putting up about season tickets at the moment and how you need to support your team. And it's absolutely ridiculous because they're not supporting their team because they've just signed a coach on for another 2 years that's doing an absolutely horrendous job. So, yeah, they're going backwards. Sorry.
Leslie?
Yeah, I mean, what Craig said, it was absolute dog shit, wasn't it? Absolutely honking. And actually worse than previous years, which is really quite some feat. Yeah, Craig summed it up pretty well, I think. I don't think we need to repeat it, but yes, sure.
Allan?
I mean, I was going to say forwards just for contrariness, but how can you? I mean, literally, and I'm not a Glasgow fan or an Edinburgh fan. I'm one of these, unlike both Scottish teams, to do well wankers. And I quite often don't have the temerity to ask my wife if we can put on the Edinburgh game, because what I do is actually will sit, provided we're watching something I don't care about that much, I'll be sitting watching the Edinburgh game on my phone because that's the size of screen they deserve.
Yeah, in my house, I could get away with just going, do you want to watch Edinburgh get spanked again? It'll be really funny. And then that's what we do. For me, I think the issue that I have with Edinburgh is how comprehensively across the board backwards it's gone. Like, results have gone backwards. The quality of performance has gone backwards. It seems like the morale of the team has gone backwards. The engagement and morale of the fans have gone backwards. It's actually at the point now where, like, because I used to quite enjoy winding up Edinburgh. It's like it was a nice rivalry to have. And nowadays, I don't do it because I actually genuinely don't feel good about being mean about them. Like, you guys don't deserve it. It's regressing so comprehensively across the board. I'm like, I feel bad being mean about you because you don't deserve it. Edinburgh fans have done nothing to deserve being put in this position, but the players look fucking miserable. The fans look miserable. The product on the pitch is somehow getting worse. There are test lions in Edinburgh's team, and they're somehow getting worse. And that's the problem for me. I think if the team was getting slightly worse because of something, you'd be a bit like, oh well, that's a shame. Like that's the problem. That's what's making them get worse. They're just in every conceivable aspect and metric somehow getting worse, and it's horrible. You don't want to see that happen.
They've got the Trump-esque cheek to say we're doing this to bring on our job here is to bring on the youth, and it's just bullshit.
Yeah,
it's absolute bullshit. They have kept Everett in the job because it's cheaper to do so than to bring in another coach, and they now they've brought a lot of David Nucifor's pals over to try and what the fuck that's about. I'm absolutely raging about, and then it's exasperating. It's absolutely exasperating how we could be exasperated about the women's toilets at the SRU and them not spending money on them, which is ridiculous in the first place. but they've got a professional fucking team that they're supposed to, and they're spending a large amount of money, of our money, on this professional team, and they're accepting not even mediocre. I'd be happier with mediocrity. Sorry.
And we've had this conversation before. There is, I think, quite rightly, in a lot of quarters, us included, genuine concern about what you're doing to the mindset of young players to put them into that situation. Like they are doing damage to the careers of young players by being like, fuck it, give that a go, let's see what happens. Because it's not a happy environment. You can see that on the players' faces. It's not an environment that encourages growth in the players. And to just chuck handfuls of young players into some of these teams is horrendous fucking mismanagement. Right, Craig? The most difficult question we're going to have all night. What is the biggest single thing that Edinburgh could do to improve?
Do I have to answer that? Well, it's not so much Edinburgh can do; it's what the SRU can do. I think. Well, we could probably talk about, and we'll probably talk about Nucifora when we talk about Glasgow as well. But I think he's either this is the absolute storm before the calm, before the things getting better, and Nucifora's plan is all going to click into place, and we're all going to go, well, what were we talking about 2 years, 3 years ago? Look at us all now. We're all performing at a high level, and we're fantastic, and we're this and that and the other. But at this moment in time, Sean Everett has to go. Sean Everett has to go. There's how can they honestly sit and think it's a good idea to keep them going when their season tickets are going down, their home attendances are going down. They've I don't understand why they can accept 12th place in the URC is good for a team, as you've said, that has British and Irish Lions in it. That's got, you're then at a situation. You look at the Scotland squad for going for the Six Nations, and there's very little Edinburgh players in that. There was very little Edinburgh players in that squad. The best thing that and like. Well, there you go. Jamie Ritchie couldn't even sign back into going back to Edinburgh, the place that he's played all these games before he went to France. He had to go and sign for fucking Glasgow because he didn't want to fucking deal with all the pish that's going on in Edinburgh. So at the moment, and I really want to separate this between, the players. There's a bit of blame to be taken from them, but when you talk to them and you hear them talking about Sean Everett and about their games, etc., they're desperately trying to find positives because they're paid by the SRU, and the SRU are not going to be happy if they turn around and say, we're not particularly happy with what's going on. But sorry, I'm rambling here, and I'm just so fucking raging about it. But look at Ben Healy. Ben Healy.
That's the exact name that I was going to bring up.
Edinburgh, goes to Newcastle Falcons on loan, plays for 20 minutes and gets man of the match. 20 minutes. And he's been ruined by fucking Edinburgh. And so, anyway, by Sean Everett.
I think we could hopefully relatively safely get away with saying this. The story going round fairly widely is that he is the one who said, no, this is bullshit, we've had enough of it. And then all of so it turns out he's actually still a fucking great player. But you've got a coach who's so insecure that he can't have someone say, no, you're shite. Leslie, is there a single thing that Edinburgh could do to improve? Is it the same thing?
I took a bit more of a practical look at this. They need to pick a fucking 9 and 10. I don't care who it is. We just pick 2, the same people every week. Let them play together. Let them gel. And not bloody pick a different 9 and 10 and different centres every fucking week. because how are you meant to get anybody game time and familiar with each other when nobody is the same person week on week? Now, okay, injuries happen, that's shit, but the injuries were not at 9 and 10. So just fucking pick one. I don't care who it is. And let them play together.
I don't care who it is, just fucking pick one.
Just choose.
Just pick
Allan,
one.
From your slightly less emotionally involved point of view, what's the big improvement Edinburgh can make?
I mean, short of absolute regime change and culture change, which we've often said is what Edinburgh need, but to avoid sort of just echoing my colleagues again, I think they maybe need to evolve the selection strategy above throwing spaghetti at a wall to see if it sticks, because that currently seems to be the selection strategy, and there needs to actually be a discernible selection strategy, and that has not been obvious. So it's partially Leslie's, but expanded.
It's absolutely correct. It's even if you just take the front row, for example. 1 minute Schumann, so you've got Schumann on the bench or you've got Schumann starting, but you're pairing them up with a really young lad at the tight head and Blythe Lafferty. Now, Lafferty. Now, you can't do that. You either have a bomb squad or you don't have a bomb squad. You can't have a half of a bomb squad. You have to have the two strongest props together to come on or start the game incredibly strong, be winning the game, and then bring in your new guys. Or you bring on your new guys and say, there you go, this is what it's like to start a game. Go in and get on with it. And then you've got, I think we had Venter and Schumann in the background ready to come on and make a difference. But no, we're just gonna have we've got 3 people that haven't played together on one. Just as you say, Leslie. Sorry, I'm getting off on one again, but I'm just so fucking frustrated. Just pick one, but pick. You've got to have a strong front row. You've got to have a strong 9 and 10. And they've got to play together and know each other inside out. It's the basics, Jonny. Jonny, when you're coaching, it's exactly what you do.
Yeah,
we know it.
I do that with under 10s. I'm like, these are the combinations that we are going to use. You don't even have a fucking position yet, but we play with the same teams. We put the same people with each other all the time.
Yeah. For
under 10s. Like, it's not fucking complicated. All right, I take it back. This is the most difficult question. Craig, did Edinburgh have a moment of the year?
I have taken beating Toulon at home was fantastic.
That would be mine actually as well. From the point of view of someone who didn't beat Toulon at home. Yeah, thank you, Craig. I'm glad we both went for the same insult there. Leslie?
Yeah, mine was also the Toulon game, purely for the same reasons. Sorry, John.
So I think Edinburgh's moment of the year is Sean Everett's contract renewal, because for people promoted beyond their capabilities, for embodiments of the Peter Principle, what hope that gives. The whole idea that you can give one almighty PowerPoint presentation that manages to cancel out the colossal fuck up and bed shitting that you are doing week in, week out as head coach. Honestly, I don't like it, but I'm slightly in awe of it, and as such, it's a moment of the year.
Well,
definitely fucking doubled down.
You don't have to go fuck yourself. The rest of you can, but I will grudgingly accept that doing what Glasgow couldn't do and beating Toulon at home probably counts as a moment of the year for Edinburgh. What a sad little life, Edinburgh.
I knew what everyone else was going to say.
Enjoy beating Toulon at home. I hope it makes you very happy.
We've got to claim with small victories. Come on, give us a break.
Who was your player of the year, Craig?
Cammy Scott.
That's very succinct. Done. Cammy Scott.
Yeah,
job's a good
Cammy
one.
Scott played incredible.
No justification. It's just him.
I think for a youth to come in at 10 and to put in some performances that he's done, He's been very good, and I'm quite pleased with what he's doing.
Leslie?
I mean, I've got a slightly snarky answer, and
Come on,
touching what Craig mentioned
get
earlier.
stuck here. Come on.
It was Hamish Watson and Ben Healy. For both of them putting in exceptional performances the minute they left Edinburgh, which is just fantastic. But it's Hector Patterson, really.
I thought you were going to make me Hector cry there. I really thought that you were going to say him. I do admire the shithousery of voting for Mission Ben Tendo. That's excellent work. Allan?
Well, Leslie said she wasn't picking Hector, so I was going to pick Hector. Now it looks like I've copied her homework.
That's okay. You haven't given us a single original answer all night, Allan, so it's okay. You can say Hector Patterson.
I'll refer the honourable gentleman to my previous answer, which I feel was definitely originally incorrect. I think Hector Patterson.
Can I just correct myself? I forgot about Hector Patterson, and I would have named him as well. So I just want you to know that.
Do you know what's really interesting, right? Is that Leslie's single biggest Edinburgh improvement was pick a 9 and pick a 10 and have them play together. And Edinburgh's whole thing is we're bringing through the young players. And when we talk about Edinburgh's best players of the season, we've talked about a young 9 and a young 10 who have both played really well. Now, I'm not a professional coach, but I could fucking work that out from here. So that seems like fairly straightforward. Okay, from Edinburgh then to the opposite end of the scale and the opposite end of the URC table. Top of the log in the regular season for Glasgow, 13 wins, end up going out in the semi-finals against the Bulls at Murrayfield. Allan, we'll start back with you again. Glasgow forwards, backwards, or stayed the same?
I think forwards. And I think they were involved at the business end of the season in 2 competitions. They went out and knocked out in 2 matches by a total of 4 points at a time when they were missing players. I'm not saying it's a satisfying season. The players and fans are upset and unhappy, and I get it, but I think they have moved forward. So I would say forwards, even though it's been a frustrating end to the season.
Yep. Craig?
Backwards. I think Glasgow, you've got to look at the results. You've got to look at the team makeup that they have. They're missing they're missing the players to make that difference, to get them to their finals, to get them to deal with the quiet times, or to deal with the injury issue times. They come in and put performances in. You honestly can't turn around and say that Dan Lancaster's had a fantastic season at 10. Where Glasgow are incredibly dangerous is their performance with the ball in hand, and I feel that they have been shut down by the more cannier teams, and unfortunately this year they've not performed to the way I hoped or expected. I expected them to be in the URC final, and they got there all the way to the European Challenge Cup final. Was it the final? Yeah.
Yes.
And they haven't managed to get any further with that. So I'll go back to other performances when we talk about other things, but I just feel that I think that the big issue was when they lost Venter, and again David Nucifora's new plan of stripping out all the foreign imports, but they're the people you need to win things.
Leslie, sorry.
It's all right.
There you go.
No, it's fine.
I've had enough of you bashing Glasgow. Go on, Leslie. Okay. You could bash Glasgow now.
I actually went with forward because, as Craig just mentioned, they lost the non-Scottish qualified players, and I was not expecting them to actually improve on their league position from the previous year, and they did. And I was not really expecting them to do that much in the Champions Cup, and they did. So for that reason, they have moved forward, but the Nucifora era of very slimmed down squads is making it pretty difficult to take that next winning step.
I think I am also going to say forwards. I think that they could become victims of their own success quite soon, because I think they are comfortably in the top 10 teams in Europe now, probably. I think they're spoken about in those sorts of terms, which they weren't last year or the year before. I will be interested to see going forward what that means for them, because I think, honestly, that Leinster benefited twice this year from the fact that teams look like now that they've played their final when they play Glasgow. Toulon and Bulls played their hearts out to beat Glasgow in the Champions Cup quarterfinals and then in the URC semi-finals, and then were fucked when they went to Dublin the next week. And Leinster benefited off the back of that twice, because even a season ago, Glasgow were a bit of a surprise package. And, to his credit, and, I don't always like him, and Craig will say even more about him, Ryan Wilson banged the drum for Glasgow on Premier Sports last season in the Champions Cup and said people should be talking about Glasgow, and they're not. And this year, people are talking about Glasgow. And teams really loaded up to come to Scotstoun. We saw it with Toulon in the Champions Cup quarterfinal. We saw how hard the Bulls worked to beat Glasgow in the URC semi-final. And that's now going to keep happening to Glasgow. So I think they did go forwards. But I think to keep going forward, they need to now understand that, we're not fucking sneaking up on people. People are coming to Scotstoun or coming to Murrayfield if it's a big game, thinking we need to bring our biggest game to beat Glasgow. And I'm just really angry that it was fucking Leinster that benefited from that twice. More difficult than it was for Edinburgh, probably, Allan. Is there a single thing that Glasgow can do to improve to keep going forward?
Yep, I think it's sign a 10. It's that's it. I was going to say, keep George Horn fit, which is maybe a spoiler for my answer for later on. But actually, I think it's sign a 10. I think Dan Lancaster is, and potentially Ollie Smith if he's going to spend some time at 10. I think they're decent backup 10s to have. But I don't think Dan Lancaster is anyone's idea of the starting and main 10 for the Glasgow that you've just described, Jonny, that I also believe are there. So they need a 10.
Yeah. Craig?
I think Franco Smith needs to put his foot down and say, I'm out of here if you don't like me bringing my own players that I want. I think the big difference, I honestly believe this, and you're going to laugh at me because I did say something about, I don't know where it was, somebody asked me about if I was, it was the whole hoo-ha about Franco asking Edinburgh players to support Glasgow and this and that and the other, and all these people went, yes, I'm a Scottish rugby fan and I'm supporting Glasgow in the finals, and I went, no, I'm not supporting Glasgow at all. I hope they crash and burn. But what I will say is that Glasgow had or have the ability to win the European Cup. They have the ability. They need to be able to weather the storm when it comes to injuries, when it comes to the real hard graft of a European Cup. And I feel that the last part of the season, whether it was URC or whether it was European Cup, they struggled because they didn't have the Venters. If you've got Henkel Venter and you've got is it Henkel Venter?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Jack Dempsey there. There's two players that can be interchangeable and can get you through a season. Look what they did when they went to South Africa, where everybody wrote them off and they won the URC down in South Africa. they need these players, and this is the where Nusafora has a problem with his plan. Is you need these day in day out players who will play while the Scottish team is together training, and it's taking your big superstars away. You need these players in to deal with the day in day out and also be there for injuries. And unfortunately, the Nusafora way is not working for that. It's going to give you. We're going to have some fantastic Scottish players coming through, but I don't think we're going to reach the heights that you've been reaching before.
Leslie?
I would say be pragmatic sometimes and take points. You don't always have to go for the corner and for the try. And sometimes in semi-finals, you just need to kick the bloody goals. And they don't. And you do wonder, had they maybe been slightly more pragmatic at times, would any of those results been slightly different? But then, as you guys have said, maybe having a 10 who can kick when George Horn is not there is useful.
Yeah, Alan, I'm with you. I think 10 urgently needs to be addressed. I think you're right. I don't hate Dan Lancaster. I thought Dan Lancaster had a pretty solid season. The problem with Dan Lancaster, like Leslie says, is when things are going well for Glasgow, which they are more often than not, Dan Lancaster's fine. He has some solid games. He distributes pretty well. He plays well when the game's going well. When you need your 10 to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and say, let's go win this fucking game, Dan Lancaster is not your man. And that's an issue. And that's probably what that extra 5% of difference would have been for Glasgow at the sharp end of the season. So I'm with you, Alan. I think a 10 is important. You have a chance now, McDonald, to make it look like I'm copying your homework, because my Glasgow moment of the year is the most obvious answer we're going to have all night, but I will go last. Alan, what's your Glasgow moment of the year?
I was going to say the win against Toulouse. But I'm going to. I've already had one moment that was 60 moments, so I think I'm going to pin it down, and I'm going to say it's Jamie Dobie's tackle at the end of the first half to save that try, because if he didn't do that, Glasgow were going to be 28 points down, and they would. I don't think they'd have come back from that psychologically, being 4 tries down, a bonus point down at half time. So there's lots of talk about the second half fight back, and rightly so, but that fight back is only spoken about because Jamie Dobie made that tackle. So I'm going to go for that as a singular moment in that game.
Craig?
A mixture of Adam Hastings ruffling hair.
Yes.
I
love it.
I think the hoo-ha that came out of that, when you've got Henry Pollock doing most of that in England in the PWR, in the Prem, I should say. I think that for me is a great moment, and it's building the reputation of Glasgow of not being scared of anyone. But you have to look at that Toulouse game. That Toulouse came to Scotland with a team. They didn't come with a half team. They didn't come with a group of subs. They came with the team that were there to beat Glasgow and show Glasgow what. And in the first half, they did. They did an incredible job against Glasgow, but they shat the bed, and Glasgow didn't give up. And I think that's more power to Glasgow. So yeah, I would go with Toulouse, whether it's boring or not.
Leslie?
Sort of related. I took the Champions Cup run as a whole. I don't think anyone was really expecting Glasgow to be like second seed, or was it top seed or second seed? I can't remember. One of the two. And I don't think many people, given who was in our group, maybe saw that coming. And they absolutely showed us what they can do. So yeah, partly that Toulouse game, but the whole run, unfortunately, before it came to a bit of a premature end. But I took the whole run.
Who put them out?
Some French team. Don't think that's
French
important.
team put them out. Was it at
I
home?
don't think that's important.
I think it was the one that Edinburgh might have beaten.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Sorry.
Fine. Well, I hope you're enjoying yourself.
Small victories, mate. Small victories.
All right. I'll tell you what the correct answer for Glasgow's moment of the year is. 15 minutes against Zebri, breaks his finger, tears his hamstring, runs a line he's never run in fucking 30 years of professional rugby. He is the greatest man ever in history. Duncan Weir's cameo against Zebri, and particularly his try, where he openly admitted he'd seen people run that line before, but never bothered his arse to do it, and figured this is my last chance, and used it to score a try. He is my all-time hero. So, Duncan Weir's final performance for Glasgow against Zebri. That's the correct answer. I don't
Seconded
with everyone, but that's what we're going. Before I finish us off with an extremely fucking horrendous hipster answer, Allan, who is Glasgow's Player of the Year?
I've never been finished off by Jonny before, but anyway.
Nobody's buying that. Allan, Allan, who's Glasgow's Player of the Year?
so many jokes that I've just rejected as being inappropriate, even for this chat. George Horn would be for me. I think the absence of George Horn really showed at the sharp end of the season. And I think if George Horn had been able to play the 2 knockout games that they lost, I think they'd have won them, simple as.
Yeah, I would agree. Craig?
Like a fine wine that we've been waiting on maturing and becoming absolutely brilliant is Josh Mackay. I think Josh Mackay has been in the background for some time. He's been putting some performances in, but he's just never. I think this was his season. I think he's had an absolute stormer of a season, and I think he's definitely for someone who, really is in the background in everyone's thoughts, whether it's Scotland or whether it's he is. He's played. He's definitely a very, very good player for Glasgow. So yeah,
as we discussed recently, helpfully for those of us that are occasionally called upon to write their best ever Glasgow team, he has absolutely cemented the right to be called Glasgow's best ever fullback, which makes life a lot less problematic and a lot easier for some of us. So yeah, Josh Mackay, an excellent shout. Leslie?
I went with Jamie Dobie. He has always been very good, but this season particularly, he has been playing some of his best rugby up until he got injured. And for him to play that semi-final, most of that game coming back from injury was a bloody good shift, and he did not let himself down. So yeah, I went with Jamie Dobie for something a little bit different.
Considering the standard he could play at 2 completely different positions in, it's outrageous. I promised you a hipster choice. This is a very hipster choice. It probably make Craig and Allan very happy. For me, a big difference for Glasgow this season, the emergence of Patrick Schickerling. Considering how unheralded he was when he arrived, some of the problems he had at Exeter when he was there. He struggled a lot with getting involved in the game when he first came to Glasgow. He's been an absolutely key piece of Glasgow's set piece this season. He's had some brilliant performances. He's carried really well. He seems to be, like Craig said when we spoke about Edinburgh, you put 2 really good props together. And in terms of scrummaging and carrying, him and Xander are very similar. So Glasgow seem to have 2 very solid props now. Chicken Wing has really announced himself this year. So a little bit of a hipster cunt pick, but Patrick Schickerling for me. So 4 very different choices for Glasgow.
And I'll go with the prop every time.
I know you would. I thought you would.
Yeah,
I think it says a lot.
Loose head. Craig went with a loose head, man. That shows how good a choice it was.
For everything that we said, I think it does say a lot about Glasgow this year that we have all gone for 4 completely different players as well. So that has been fun. Thank you very much, everybody. That was very enjoyable. A nice way to finish off the season. I think we've kind of cleared up everything that's happened for all 4 teams, and nice to finish on a little bit of positivity. So that is us. for season 2025-2026. We will pop back a couple of times over summer because we've got some things brewing for a couple of specials for you lovely patrons. We're just trying to fine-tune those. So we will do that. We'll get a couple of things out for you over summer, and we will be back in some form or another at the start of the 2026 season. But for now, for tonight, damn it, I got so well for this week.
You said tonight at the start, John. I didn't want to.
No, I didn't. I deliberately didn't.
I promise you, you did.
I'll listen in the morning and find out. But
I like
for
to
this week,
infect it. I have infected you. Or treat you well.
For the 2025-2026 season, it is goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Craig, Allan, and Leslie.
Bye, all.
Goodbye.
Bye.